Do you have repeating issues in your life that you can't quite explain or stop repeating? It may well be that these repeating issues are the result of the beliefs, values, behaviours and perceptions of yourself and the world that were formed by the training, both overt and covert, that you received from your Matriarch Wannabe. You see, children are in highly suggestible, hypnotic-like brain states for the first few years of their life. In this state, the information that they receive about themselves and the world does not pass through critical thought. The information is treated as fact by the brain and that forms the building blocks for their life. This training of the first few years is then embedded by repeated messaging throughout their formative years. When we consider this childhood susceptibility to taking the information that is received and embedding it as fact, and couple this with the dysfunction of the Matriarch Wannabe, it stands to reason that the early life training from the Matriarch Wannabe may well be the source of repeating undesired life patterns. You see, typical traits of a Matriarch Wannabe are a desire for control and recognition. They often lack genuine wisdom or empathy and can leave a significant and often detrimental impact on their children. Unlike a true matriarch who fosters growth and unity, the wannabe's actions can lead to a range of emotional, psychological and relational challenges for their children. Now, please don't think that this means you are destined to repeat these undesired patterns for the rest of your life. The illuminative point is that you can heal these negative effects on you and move towards a more fulfilling life. I share the information in this video and all of my videos because I see you. For those of you who are or who have gone through this tumultuous path, I see you. I see you because I see the terrain that you are on. And I've also been there, done that, and I've got the t-shirt. So stay tuned until the end of the video where I give you a strategy that you can use now to help you gain clarity and positive steps forward. Before I dive into the potential effects of the Matriarch Wannabe, it's worth noting that parents can have some of the traits of a Matriarch Wannabe but still be loving and caring and add to your life. My videos are not about finding all the ways that your parents have messed up. They are about pointing out patterns that I repeatedly see in my coaching, ways that people struggle in their lives, so that they can be aware of the cause and to heal their negative effects on their life. If you recognize any of these negative effects in your life, comment below. I'm keen to hear your thoughts and it will let me know which effects to deep dive into in future videos. And if you would like personalized assistance, there is a link below for booking a Mending the Mother Wound Tarot-led coaching session with me. Let's dive into a breakdown of the kinds of impact a Matriarch Wannabe can have on their children during their childhood and throughout their later life. One of the most common and obvious effects of being raised by a Matriarch Wannabe is a diminished self-esteem and self-worth. There are many ways traits of the Matriarch Wannabe can chip away at the child's self-esteem and self-worth, but three of the most common are: firstly, constant criticism. The Wannabe often uses criticism, either overt or covert, to maintain control and ensure their children conform to their expectations. This can chip away at a child's self-esteem, making them feel perpetually not good enough. Secondly, conditional love or approval. Children may learn that love and approval are contingent upon pleasing their wannabe and adhering to their wishes. This creates a deep-seated insecurity and a fear of rejection if they express their individuality. And then there's a lack of trust in their own judgment. When a parent constantly dictates decisions or second guesses their children's choices, children struggle to develop confidence in their own judgment. This can lead to indecisiveness and chronic self-doubt in adulthood. The effects of this lack of self-esteem and self-worth can bleed into multiple areas into adult life. It can lead to putting others' needs first, people-pleasing, self-defeating behaviours, self-sabotage, accepting being treated poorly, and much, much more. This is a trait I see all too often in my coaching clients. The perpetual chipping away at their self-esteem during their childhood leads to beliefs and behaviours that limit their life later on. As an example, Christine grew up in a home where she was treated as lesser than her siblings. No matter what she did to be a good girl, she was met with criticism or dismissal. As an adult, Christine had a succession of dysfunctional or toxic relationships. She worked in lower paying and lower skilled jobs. I met Christine and coached her later in her working life. I always found Christine to be intelligent and capable. She had insights that were profound, yet she always struggled to see herself as capable and worthy. The messaging that Christine received from her matriarch Wannabe had ripple effects through all aspects of the rest of her life until she stopped to work through all of the unhealed wounds and reclaim her sense of self. It was extraordinary to see the transformation in Christine as we worked together through coaching. The second common effect of being raised by a matriarch wannabe is a difficulty with autonomy and independence. Many people who were raised by a matriarch wannabe have a distorted sense of self as an autonomous and independent being. For many, the matriarch wannabe sees their children as extensions of themselves rather than as separate individuals. This can stifle a child's ability to develop their own identity, interests, and personal boundaries. This effect can be seen into adulthood, where the adult child of the matriarch wannabe's sense of self is largely shaped by the people in their life, whether that's partners, friends, a workplace, or still by their parent. You might be wondering why I add workplace here. That's because I have seen many incidents where a workplace or career can become a very large part of someone's sense of who they are. In many incidents, the workplace has become the adult replacement of the stifled individuality from the matriarch wannabe. That brings us to over-reliance or codependency. Children of a matriarch wannabe may become overly reliant on the wannabe for decisions and emotional validation, leading to codependent patterns where they prioritize others' needs over their own and regularly look to someone else for confirmation on their actions or decisions. The other side of the difficulties with autonomy and independence is rebellion or passive-aggressive behaviours. When faced with a matriarch wannabe, some children may rebel overtly against the control, while others may resort to passive-aggressive behaviours as a way to express suppressed resentment and gain a sense of agency. These behaviours can become habits that spread into adulthood. I'm sure you've all met individuals who seem to buck against any perceived authority, even if that authority is productive and positive, or the person who exacts some sort of control by passive-aggressive coercion or undermining. When these behaviours become a default, it becomes a problem in the individual creating a positive life for themselves with healthy relationships. The third common effect of being raised by a matriarch wannabe relate to issues with emotional dysregulation and challenges with mental health. Unfortunately, this is also a pattern that I have regularly seen. The constant pressure to perform, meet unrealistic expectations, and navigate an emotionally turbulent environment during their formative years can lead to anxiousness, chronic stress, and depressive feelings well into adulthood. While these are complex issues with many possible causes, being raised by a matriarch wannabe can be a factor. In addition, children might learn to suppress their true feelings to avoid the matriarch wannabe's disapproval or emotional outbursts. This can lead to emotional numbness or difficulty regulating their emotions later in life. Another form that emotional dysregulation and mental health challenges can take relates to children feeling deep resentment towards the controlling parent. This can also be coupled with immense guilt if they attempt to assert their independence or express their true feelings, as they've been conditioned to equate compliance with love. By now, many of you will know that being raised by a matriarch wannabe can wreak havoc on your emotional state. But please know that just by being aware of the pattern and the effects, you are taking steps towards healing and minimizing these effects. The fourth common effect of being raised by a matriarch wannabe relates to issues with your relationships. Many of you would have seen the pattern, or you may be in the pattern yourself, where healthy, respectful, caring and supportive relationships seem out of reach. For some, this relates primarily to one type of relationship, such as romantic relationships. For others, this relates to multiple types of relationships in their life. Having experienced conditional love and manipulation, children may struggle to trust others or form healthy reciprocal relationships. They might replicate dysfunctional patterns in their own partnerships and relationships into adulthood. Some children and adult children of matriarch wannabes have a tendency to avoid conflict or gain acceptance. Children may become chronic people pleasers, unable to set boundaries or to say no, leading to exploitation by others. They may have difficulty establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries, either by being too rigid to protect themselves from perceived control or too porous, allowing others to overstep. Also, a matriarch wannabe might inadvertently or deliberately foster competition amongst siblings, playing favourites or triangulating children against each other, further damaging family bonds. These damaged bonds can be prevalent for the rest of their lives. To me, impaired relationships are one of the saddest effects that the matriarch wannabe has on their children, both as children and into adulthood. As humans, we crave connection. As small children, we mainly look to our primary caregiver for connection and reassurance. Studies have repeatedly shown links between childhood abuse and dysfunction and relationship issues later in life. As I mentioned above, Christine struggled all of her life with finding relationships where she was seen and appreciated for who she truly was. This is a reality that I have seen often, and it can be bewildering, as it was for Christine, until they can identify the pattern and take steps to mend. As a general pattern, being raised by a matriarch wannabe can result in limiting or lack of thriving into adulthood. It can be like putting a lid on someone's potential, so that the potential is brewing under a lid, but it can never flow. One of the forms this can take is the adult child of the matriarch wannabe struggling to problem solve and to find solutions to life's challenges. When a parent always steps in to fix things or make decisions, children don't get the opportunity to develop their own problem-solving skills, resilience, or ability to learn from mistakes. Children of a matriarch wannabe can also be very risk adverse. They can even be adverse to perceived as well as actual risks. Fear of failure or disappointing the wannabe can make children risk averse, hindering their personal and professional growth later in life. These are just some of the effects that a matriarch wannabe can have on the lives of their children. In summary, the children of a matriarch wannabe often grow up with a deep internalized sense of inadequacy, a struggle with self-definition, and complex emotional baggage that can impact their relationships and well-being long into adulthood. Healing often involves recognizing these patterns, setting healthy boundaries, and potentially seeking assistance to process the emotional impact of their upbringing. Remember though, by assessing if you have a matriarch wannabe in your life, you are not betraying them. You are gaining clarity on the effects on you so that you can heal. You can, if you choose, maintain a relationship with the matriarch wannabe, albeit with new parameters and awareness. Now you have an idea of the possible effects of a matriarch wannabe. Let's look at something you can do today to assist yourself. One of the core aspects for all of these effects relate to your self-esteem and how you view yourself. One of the most effective exercises for rewriting this over time is mirror work. At least once per day for at least 90 days, yes, I said 90 days, look at yourself in the eyes, in the mirror and say, I love you. And tell yourself all of the good things that you have done, big or small, during the last day. One of the keys to this exercise being effective is to really feel the emotion of what you are saying each and every time. With the mirror exercise, you are slowly rewriting your subconscious beliefs and feelings about yourself, but you must be consistent and do it daily for the 90 days. You are rewriting your default habit brain to perceiving yourself in a much better light with this exercise. But please be aware that this exercise can be surprisingly difficult for those with low self-esteem. I remember how difficult it was for me when I first did the mirror exercise early in my healing journey. I felt a cringy feeling every time I did it, as the words I was saying were so foreign to me. But over time, day by day, that cringy feeling was replaced by a sense of self-pride. Since then, I've seen many of my coaching clients experiencing this mirror work as very confronting. But it is in the confronting feeling where the enormous power of this exercise lies. This is because this exercise goes straight to the heart of rewriting how you see yourself, thereby rewriting your reality going forward. To connect with me and gain a further foothold on your particular relational dynamics, you can book a Mending the Mother Wound Tarot-led coaching session with me via the link below. If this information has been helpful for you, most likely it is going to be helpful for at least one other person in the same predicament. Help me spread this awareness by sharing, liking and subscribing. And let me know that you found this information helpful by typing the phrase, I am learning to love me, in the comments below. And stay tuned for future videos where we unpack the Matriarch Wannabe and your healing journey. Or here's a video that can help you with identifying if you have a matriarch wannabe in your life. I recommend you watch that one next. Bye for now.